Well, no, you can't. We
can't
we
draw
have
into the
accepted that scribble is a downed carriage.
Right.
Yeah, I've taken to labeling stuff when we draw on the mat.
Totally fine.
Which
Here's a
doesn't help, 'cause
squiggle
you
and a right
can't
table,
write.
and yeah.
Right. So now we're talking about adding like tons and tons of prep for, I think, very little reward. And I have to buy a TV that goes into my table.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's great if I want to eat and watch Frasier at the same time.
Frasier.
Just pull
That's
something out.
Why do you need to look at the food you're eating? Like, what,
I don't know.
is spaghetti that challenging? It's like, I can't keep my eyes off these meatballs or they're going to get away.
Well, no, I can
But
play.
this dry Frasier humor is also captivating.
I can play some.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your weekly Dungeons and Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie,
Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Melvin.
and we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week we're looking at the Cleric Wizard Multiclass, and then later on the Sibriex from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. So pull up a chair and stick around.
All right, so this week we're taking a look at the Cleric Wizard multiclass. The Cleric is a full spellcaster of the Holy Order, usually a devout follower of some specific god who grants them spellcasting and religious capabilities beyond normal priest means. The Wizard is an arcane master, studier of lore, and has learned to weave the arcane fabric to their will. So the requirements for these two classes are Cleric, you need to have a Wisdom of 13, and Wizard, you need to have an Intelligence of 13. So same as the one we did last week, actually. That's same as Druid Wizard. We're doing a Wizard again. I guess that makes it pretty simple. All right, well, first thoughts. We're going to turn it over to Will, who's, let me guess, going to hate it.
Not thrilled, guys. We've got another split caster. There is a spectrum of full casters with various intelligence stats. Once again, we are straddling two. The Cleric, even thematically as a caster, generally is a more mixed role. They've got support, they've got melee. They're supposed to be a little bit closer to the fray than a Wizard's supposed to. I don't know. There's not a whole lot going for this class, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, Kevin.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Will. I think there's a couple decent ways you could go about it, but it's more like a dip into something than a true full multi-class. And then when you're dipping in a Cleric, that's really hard to justify roleplay wise, because it's power is given to you from a god saying, you are my Cleric, you are my hands on this earth, and you will go forth and do my bidding, and in return here are all these powers. Yeah, I'm just here for 2 levels just to get these 2 things. I'm going back and, I'm fucking off with wizard stuff. Like, it's hard to justify. I'm not saying we'll have to talk about how we can justify it, but...
What the hell? Can you do that? Well, you're the god who gave him the powers. If you're mad, you can fix this.
All right, well, that's our episode.
Yeah,
No, I think I'm definitely on the same page. We talked about this last episode as well, but I'll say it again for our first timers tuning in. So anytime you have a spellcaster, full spellcaster multiclass, you're really only going to thrive if you have the same spellcasting modifier. So right off the bat, we're splitting those two into Wisdom and Intelligence. So we're gonna find probably some difficulties with that. I think the first thing that is good is being able to find other spells. So you're getting Cleric spells, which are
pretty
healing spells, they're support spells, where Wizard spells, you get a lot of the damage, battlefield control, I mean, really everything, just besides healing spells. So that's one good thing right off the rip, is that you get some healing spells as a Wizard. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to, as you said, dip into Cleric. It's really not a class that role-playing wise lends itself to dipping into really quick and then just never looking at again. If you did that and acted outside of whatever god was giving you these powers it would probably just strip them away and say, no, you don't get to do that anymore. There's also a couple of subclasses for Cleric that kind of do what a Wizard would do anyways, role-playing wise, less so mechanically. There's
like an Arcana.
Yeah, there's an Arcana domain, which, again, it doesn't give you too many spells, but it takes away your need to have an Intelligence modifier. which is good. And you also get potent spellcasting at level 8, which is nice with that. So you're basically only going to use your cleric cantrips over your wizard cantrips.
And this is a big problem with this is everything in cleric is cleric.
Yeah.
This improves your cleric X, Y, or Z. So yeah, your potent spellcasting, you're not going to be stacking that if you take anything else.
Right. Arcane Domain at level 17, you do get a Arcane Mastery, which is really high level. But Arcane Mastery lets you choose 4 spells off of the wizard list from levels 6, 7, 8, and 9. Which is nice. I think 9th is included in that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good, and you probably don't need to go wizard because of that. There's no wizard spells from 1 to 5 that are so good it's really worth dipping into for 10 levels. 9 levels, I guess, to get those 5 levels of wizard. Flavor-wise, there's got to be something here.
See, I could see committing into a cleric. I could see you're a wizard who has some sort of life events that get you in contact with one of the gods of the realm, and you fully devote yourself to them, and they bestow cleric powers on you, and then that's the path you go on.
Okay, so like you're talking about a event specific thing that happens in most likely the leveling up.
Yeah.
That from that point forward they don't reject wizarding outright, but start moving
They don't
towards
focus on
the
it
path
anymore.
of
Right.
clericdom.
So they still have that to fall back on.
Right.
So that would be kind of like, you basically be like a dip into wizard, but you technically start as wizard.
Yeah.
Which would be fine. Yeah, it's just really hard to justify a dip in the cleric. To like go back, and unless you try and flavor like you're a whole new thing. You're not a wizard multiclassing into cleric. You just are what you are, and the wizard powers and the cleric powers are all kind of from the same thing. It's divine power from this god. But you're kind of stripping away the flavor of wizard.
Yeah, I mean, I
that
guess
point.
that I could see you getting away with on the Arcana domain and the Knowledge domain, because you're not specifically rejecting the original ideals of that god.
Yeah, following a wizard path probably would line up very well with an Arcana or Knowledge domain god. They
Right.
would want you to do that.
Right. They're like, okay, cool. Like, you're still doing, like, I'm not going to give you any more of my powers. You seem like you've got it taken care of, as long as you keep trying to seek out this knowledge of, I guess, everything with the Knowledge domain, and with the
Right.
Arcane domain, just, Arcana. So that's fine, but you're definitely limited in the amount of things you can dip into cleric with that. The other way around, I don't think you're as limited, but it just kind of feels pointless. If I am, 10 levels in cleric, is there really a reason for me to take a 2-level dip into wizard?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because clerics probably have the single most varied availability of subclasses.
Yeah.
If you want Fireball, there is a cleric way to get Fireball. If you
Right.
want Call Lightning or Thunderbolt, there's a cleric way to get that. If you for some reason want both of these, then I guess, but clerics have so many paths you can take down to get what you want if you want a specific thing. And you just got to pick your domain.
Yeah.
So going wizard is just, it's having your cake and eating it too, but neither of them's quite as good as you wanted it.
Yeah.
But the cake's bad and it's gone stale.
And it looks like shit. And you're like, oh, I should have picked.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the one of the issues with cleric is they're already a bit mad, multi-attribute dependent for a class where they need to have wisdom as their spellcasting ability. They need to have, well, again, not need, but they should usually have strength, or you can do a dex cleric because you're expected to wear armor of some sort, or you are going to be up in the fray and doing some melee damage. I say most of the the subclasses for cleric let you add 1d8 damage to your melee attack. So, I mean, one that might work well, as we were talking about last episode, actually, was the Blade Singer. Because clerics don't ever get a second attack, but that Blade Singer, the wizard subclass, gets a second attack at 6th level, And then clerics get to add their 1d8 damage to their melee weapon attacks. Actually, sorry, not melee weapon attacks, just weapon attacks at 8th level. So now we're talking 14th level to get 2 attacks, which most classes get at level 5.
Right.
And then extra 2d8 if both of them hit. Just super unimpressive stuff here.
That kind of super sucks.
Yeah. No, I mean, that extremely sucks.
You get some other stuff along the way. So
Like a bunch of spell casting, I guess.
Yeah, access to a lot of spells that you wouldn't get as just a wizard or just a cleric.
Right.
There's not a whole bunch of overlap between the spell list. That's really what it comes down to. That being said, so if we're going to ignore roleplay justification for a minute here,
sure.
Talk about like a dip into cleric, like an abjuration wizard who dips into, say, life domain or order domain is going to be really, really hard to kill. Even into 1 level dip. So if they're abjuration and they focus on that, they get all their cool spells and they get the abjuration ward where they have temp HP and they can absorb extra hits and absorb friends' hits and stuff like that. And then let's say order domain. They take 1 level into it. They get proficiency of heavy armor.
Which I think life domain gives as well.
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay.
And then also like order domain, like that's another first level thing, the voice of authority. Starting at first level, you can invoke the power of law to drive an ally to attack. If you cast a spell with a spell slot of first level or higher, it doesn't need to be a cleric spell, just a spell, first level or higher on a target of an ally. That ally can use the reaction immediately after the spell to make a weapon attack against a creature of your choice. Like, that's decent.
So that's when you cast a spell that helps an ally?
Just if you cast a spell with a spell slot of first level or higher and target an ally with the spell.
Okay, so anything like
So technically, I mean, you could technically do something not helpful and it'll still trigger it, but I don't think that'd be worth it.
All right, we're going to go a little off the rails, but it says an ally. It's obviously single target.
Yeah.
Would that work for multi-target too? Just like one person getting blessed, could they use their reaction?
Yes. I would think. It says it targets an ally. It does target an ally, but it also says that ally can use a reaction immediately. I would...
Because bless would probably be the common one.
Next sentence, man.
Yeah, next sentence.
You choose. Yep.
If the spell targets more than one ally, you choose the ally who can make the attack. That's still good.
Yeah.
You know, you're not losing it at least.
So yeah, that's important. If bless just didn't work, that'd be dumb. But bless now you can do it to your...
Whoever. What do you mean?
Polurterer.
Yeah, you're... bringing it way back. So actually, I'd say that one is pretty reasonable. I don't know, again, pulling it back to the RP side, if that makes too much sense, but it's pretty nice, at least, being able to have heavy armor. The only and biggest downside is there are strength requirements to armor. So I guess in that case, you would need to have a high strength. You would need to have 13 wisdom at least. You'd need to have 13 intelligence at least, but that would be your main spellcasting modifier, so you'd want to focus on that more. And then, you know, you're really sacrificing important stuff. Dex, Constitution,
and
both of those things
are
worth
taken into noting, having played a cleric as long, Constitution is very critical. You have to be the last person on the battlefield to go down.
Yeah.
So you need high HP, and you also are almost always going to be concentrating on something.
Yeah.
This is, at this point now, that particular build requires high stats in 4 areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about the strength requirements of heavy armor.
That's...
Scale mail is 13, half plate and breastplate. Is half plate
But
one of
if
them?
you've got heavy
15.
armor, you're wasting your time if you're not going after plate.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And I mean, that's nice. I guess, could you do a shield and a staff? Is there any reason against that?
No, quarter
That's
nice.
staff
Could be one-handed.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know, you got a good way to boost your AC by 2.
Then you need Wardcaster
You do.
to cast spells because both of them are full. Or you just use shield and empty hand. I think, really, I mean, it's...
You need to have
Just slap people who come near you.
You need to have an arcane focus of some sort. Or so you can do
what's the rule? Do you have to have 2 arcane focuses if they're different? Like the cleric, I think, can do holy symbol on his shield.
You totally do.
And then you've got a wand.
Yeah. Or you just go material component pouch.
It's just fine too. Either way, you need a free hand.
Yeah,
jingling the pouch in front of things.
But yeah, I mean, Warcaster would still be a really good.
Could you even
feature
do
to get.
Warcaster, honestly? If
What do
we're
you mean?
being realistic, you're chasing after so many stats. Going for feet is like the last thing you're going to be ready to
Variant
do.
human?
Variant human. All right, you have to be a variant human now. It's like
And-
the Blade Singer requirement.
Yeah, and even then, it's going to take you some time to get up to the useful heavy armor. Because if we start off with the, let's say, 16 and 16 in intelligence and wisdom. Well, okay, let me pull back there, actually. You really don't need a high wisdom if we're doing a 1-level dip into cleric. You don't. You only need it for most likely your cure wounds, your bless, things that it's nice, I guess, to get like an additional +1 or +2 to your cure wounds, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's a really small amount at the end of the day. So you keep that low, you keep your wisdom low, you focus on intelligence, you focus on strength, and now you have the dumbest wizard ever. The weirdest wizard.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's possible,
Yeah, I was
though.
gonna say, the strength requirement really
Throws a wrench in things.
for heavy armor. Yeah, yeah. In terms of some other stuff, like light domain, like has warding flare, which is pretty decent for anybody to have. You get that right at first level. When you are attacked, you could by a creature within 30 feet, you could use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll because you cause the light to flare up.
That kind of works well with abjuration, too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more
abjuration
protection, yeah.
at 6th level, you can use. Oh wait, that's your reaction as well. Well, flavor wise, it still works though.
Yeah.
Where for abjuration at 6th level, you can use your reaction to put your ward on a friend.
Yeah.
Which the ward absorbs damage instead
Right.
of them.
Yeah. And
Warding
then-
flare again, it doesn't work with it, but they role playing wise work together.
Yeah, and then actually level 6 improved flare, as you could then use it to impose disadvantage on a creature attacking an ally.
Oh, that doesn't come until 6th level.
Yeah. Yeah, warding flare is just you.
Oh, okay.
You protect yourself. It's basically follows the same structure as the abjuration's
Yeah,
shield.
first and
thing.
6th.
Yeah. Yeah, then at 6 you could use that on other people.
Okay.
So it's just
Okay.
like you kind of always have a way to protect somebody. You absorb the damage until that shield is run out. Then you start using warding flare.
I can't think of a single reason why you would rather go Abjuration Wizard and Light Domain over just Light Domain.
Because we run a podcast where we're forced to do multi-classes.
Oh. Why did I sign up for this? We could be playing D&D right now. Instead, we're talking about
All
multi
right, we can actually keep the acronym.
shut up. Roll
Monsters
initiative.
and monoclasses.
We would have ran out of episodes a long time ago.
Yes, we would.
Oh, we've come up with some really cool stuff.
Yeah, we have. This one.
This one's just struggling a bit. No, so in terms of Arcane Ward is a really, really solid ability. That's why you would go with it. And then
Yeah.
also then all the wizard spells, just increasing that spell
But
list
we're,
again.
we're back on what we had with the Wizard Druid. This is the spell puddle.
Yeah.
You've got an incredibly wide, very shallow choice of spells.
Yeah.
And we're back on the prepared thing. As a cleric, I've never once been like, boy, I wish I had more options.
The really big issue that comes around is the fact that both of these classes scale exponentially. And it's 100% with what you're saying.
Exponent. No.
Yeah, where it
linearly.
starts. No. Linearly would be like every level they get the same amount better. But when it comes to late levels for wizard and cleric, it starts
Oh,
to
you
really
mean
scale up.
Top level spells are really hard to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
So just cutting those out entirely is completely gimping you. Now, I mean, if you do these little dips, sure, you're getting something, but low level abjuration ward is not that great. It is twice your spell level plus your intelligence modifier for your starting ward. If you're only doing a 2-level dip,
Wizard level.
wizard level,
Yeah.
yep, very important. So if you're only doing like 2 levels into wizard, we're
Yeah.
talking about 5 HP or something, maybe
Woo.
7. I don't know. It's not
Yeah,
a lot to
you're
really
right.
Maybe
That one-
7. Yeah, that's worth giving my entire game.
Right. That's really worth not going into the last 2 levels of cleric. And again, we're talking about the mythical level 20 there. But even you're just holding yourself back from getting those high level spells for basically nothing. Again, you're getting access to some more utility spells.
We haven't
But-
actually talked about this because we generally find something that works enough that it's okay. But there is definitely a mechanical downfall to missing out on 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells.
Yeah.
And we are not going to be able to do the math, and I think you'd really have to do this in practice more, but how useless is a wizard that loses out on all those spells when the rest of the party is level 20? Those spells are huge.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't get them now. Yeah, you get a lot of other spells, and you got this huge pool of them. You can't burn them all at once. You really have to do this. Like, the action economy is not on your side when you are stuck at 5th level spells.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true.
And this is a bad multi-class, so it's kind of like highlighting this for me. It's like, you are losing out on some of the best parts of these casters. Just to get maybe 7 hit points as a reaction to protect your friend.
No, not even your friend. That's 6th level.
Or
It's just you.
Jeez.
And you're getting something that's similar with light domain at, being able to impose disadvantage on the attack, which you can get at 6th level, and you can use it multiple times, up to 5 times in a day if you increase just your wisdom modifier. I can't justify this.
Yeah, but it goes back to, though, how many campaigns get to 20? They don't. Like,
How many
because
get
we'll
this
talk
is
about.
useless at 10.
I'm saying we'll talk about how. Oh, people say this is really good multi-class, but it's not because it doesn't come online to level 20, which never happens. Now we're saying, oh, this one's not good at all because you lose stuff at level 20.
Not even level
But
20, though.
it's also not good because you don't gain anything for the entirety of it.
Yeah.
So it's that combination that's making me kind of like think, ugh.
You are specifically holding yourself back from getting those higher level spells by dipping into something else for
Right.
almost zero benefit. So sure, you are not actually, like, even if you only do 2 into wizard, so you just go 2, you get your first arcane feature, whatever it is. Well, now you are 2 levels behind your entire party for something that isn't that great. The wizards are not front loaded, which is again saying they increase exponentially.
Same with clerics.
Same with, clerics get some stuff.
Clerics are front loaded if you're looking to combine it with a martial class.
Yes,
That's
fair.
okay. Sure. Yeah.
Totally fair.
I meant, yeah. First level, you get your spell casting, which is going to be pretty limited.
Right.
And then you pick your divine domain in your first thing with that. So you'll get some bonus proficiencies. Maybe an ability.
Right. So I think the only
Then
thing you're
channel
really
divinity at second
getting
level.
out of this is if you do dip into cleric, you can get medium armor.
Or
Yeah.
heavy armor.
Or, heavy
Depending
armor,
on
then
how-
you're
And
now...
then you're screwing yourself
Yeah.
on stats.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
at least with the medium armor, you can ignore using your first level spell for mage armor every day.
That's
Just let me finish.
that's such a crappy trade-off.
You really run out of
Already
spells.
mad.
Yeah. So you do a literally 1 level dip into cleric. You get some more first level spells, I guess. Not really. You increase your spell casting level the same as you would, but you
Right.
But
you slow down when you can learn new spells because it needs to
Right.
be within that classes.
right. Usually you're not going to get too many spells outside of your actual list that are going to be worth it. I don't think, like, light domain, I still have that up, so I'm looking at it. Like fairy fire, you don't get as a wizard, I believe. That's a good spell. It's a good first level spell, but is it a good dip because of that?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to that. Do you want these spells? Do you want fairy fire? Do you want guidance? Do you want bless?
I think what it really
you want
comes
the
down to-
resurrections?
and healing and
Yeah,
healing.
healing,
So
yeah.
for that, I will honestly say that is the one time where this is worthwhile. If you are in a party and everybody showed up that day and nobody has any healing, and you guys really care about healing, then sure, you can do 1 level dip into cleric and completely ignore the RP ramifications. And everyone's giving me weird looks because of how dumb this sounds.
If you really care about heal, like it's not a huge part of 5th edition.
Totally agree.
Well, no, it can be, or it can't be.
Yeah,
But if you're doing the dip, it's not like you have to have a cure wounds on hand.
The game is
Right.
balanced
Can't
around
help.
not having a healer. But at the end of the
Kinda,
day,
yeah.
someone's probably going to grab some healing spells. I feel bad for the
Hell, even a ranger gets a couple.
I was
right.
gonna say, what's the party composition where like everybody showed up as a fighter and you're a wizard?
And a paladin gets
Wait,
cure wounds
4
too.
barbarians? Are you serious, guys?
But that's fine though, because now
Yeah.
nobody's taking damage.
I was
They're
gonna
always
say they're just
raging.
gonna wreck shit. Yeah,
There's
until you throw illithids at them.
literally any spellcaster. The only benefit is that Feeble Mind has 0 effect on a barbarian.
That's so mean. Oh, that's a good joke for the Polurterer.
Oh, that feeble mind wouldn't.
Yeah, when he walks into the cafeteria to bully the barbarian, you're like, oh, good thing feeble mind doesn't affect you. He's like, oh, thanks, bro. And everyone's laughing at the barbarian. He doesn't get it.
That's a callback to our Paladin Sorcerer episode. Not far back, but
2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not doing much for me.
It just comes if there's certain spells you're chasing. That's
But
like I can't. You're right. Out of like the class features, I'm looking through. I can't justify.
no. A
I
2-level
mean,
dip in a
we're
wizard.
trying. It's like it's not bad stuff. Like, oh, you get medium armor, and then you get the warding flares. Like, oh, that's nice. But is it really worth delaying your wizard levels?
Right.
Or other way around, you get a couple some temp HP, or your transmuter stone. Is that really worth the delaying the cleric levels?
Wait, I can change my my copper into silver and trick bartenders.
Oh yeah,
though.
there you go.
That's why I
So
started
there we
taking
go.
those.
We got trickery domain and the transmutation wizard.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's like
There's definitely roleplay that lines up.
right.
Because there's so many
exactly.
of each.
Yeah.
There's so many wizard spells, not circles. Schools, there we go.
Yeah, schools.
And cleric domains that fulfill every little kind of role-playing niche in schools of magic. Like, yeah, there's so many ways you can line them up. The warcaster and war domain, the illusionist and trickery, or conjuration, and I guess there's really not one for that. Yeah, like death domain and
Necromancy?
Yeah, necromancy or grave domain and necromancy.
For what it's worth, though, I will
Light
say
domain and evocation.
war magic would be the only one worth doing a 2-level dip into. And again, I say worth kind of hesitantly.
Yeah.
But you at least can use your reaction now to give you +2 to your AC, +4 bonus to your saving throws. Then you can't cast a spell next time. If you also get bonus to your
you can do
initiative.
cantrip.
You can do a cantrip, yeah. So I mean, that one's really not that bad to dip into. That's probably the only one that I would say could be worthwhile as a cleric to dip 2 into.
Right. Well, if we're going divination.
And divination.
Yes,
My
yes.
God, the divination wizards.
I actually, all right, I'll give war magic. They do have a bit of front-loaded stuff for a caster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
That's
cleric,
not bad.
especially
Yeah.
thematically.
But they never get a
And,
second
and then you'll
attack.
get a bunch of first level cleric or wizard spells and some cantrips and take some stuff clerics don't
the
get.
cantrips, that's another thing. If you do dip in wizard, you get cantrips. That's the big thing. Cleric cantrips are good.
Yeah.
Especially now the toll's on the board.
Yeah.
That's D12s are pretty hard to pass up.
Could you imagine picking anything else besides Toll the Dead? All right, we already had this conversation. Sorry. So, yeah, War Magic I like. Flavor-wise, I see a lot of stuff I like, but not anything that feels necessary. I'm not gaining anything. I'm just accepting that these two mesh well enough together.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
was that like 10 minutes?
The timer's showing at 28, but we were recording a bit beforehand, so that's going to be cut off.
Okay, if it's a
Well,
short
what do
one,
you
it's a short one.
You guys got anything else you want to talk about for Monster of the Week? Any random
Oh,
D&D bullshit things to dive into?
I bought a house.
Oh,
That's
congrats.
not
Yeah, I
D&D
know
at
that,
all.
yeah.
Is that D&D?
I rented an apartment.
I'm gonna make
I
a-
mean, I'm having a kid, so I think I trump you there.
Does
Dude,
it?
no.
I'm just being a
$7.75 on
Yeah.
Detroit Shoreway totally beats your stupid kid. That's a crazy deal.
I'm just being a jerk.
I am gonna.
3 blocks away from some of the nicest coffee shops in the city. Come on, man.
I have some fairly large plans for my basement because I've got just enough of an area. It's like bigger than this corner I've got over here for D&D, so can increase the nerdiness even further to be fun.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing I am excited about D&D related for the final house purchase is we can start really adding permanent structures
Right.
to our D&D game.
Seriously, I don't know.
Like
if
you see those tables on RD&D or whatever, and you're like, wow, I want to invest hard in that.
Like with the TV like built into it. and-
yeah, but this is a 2-year lease, and I don't want to move that out of the basement.
right.
So once you own a house, it's like, we can go hard on this stuff.
Yep. So I was kind of looking into tables, and it looks like starting price is around $3,000.
Yeah. Or We build one.
Chump change.
We built for the TV in it. Yeah, you can just build it, and that's definitely much cheaper. I'm talking about like the ones that are like the
like
raised
legitimate.
edges.
Oh, I've looked into those. Just like full blown gaming tables. That's very much a luxury good. They're nice,
What?
but goddamn, are they expensive?
Kevin,
Honestly-
this is America. It's my right to own a luxury gaming table.
I don't really love the TVs in the table. I keep wanting to.
I can see us never using it.
That's exactly it. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, that takes more prep as a DM to look up now, like, these pre-made battle areas, and it's like, oh, look, you guys are next to a downed carriage, and that's, like, kind of cool, but I can draw that in 2 seconds.
No, you can't. We just
can't
we
draw
have
it to the
accepted that scribble is a downed carriage.
Right.
Yeah, I've taken to labeling stuff when we draw on the mat.
Totally fine.
Which
Here's a
doesn't help, 'cause
squiggle
you
and a
can't
right table,
write.
and yeah.
Right. So now we're talking about adding like tons and tons of prep for, I think, very little reward. And I have to buy a TV that goes into my table.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's great if I want to eat and watch Frasier at the same time.
Frasier.
Just pull something out.
Why do you need to look at the food you're eating? Like, what,
I don't know.
is spaghetti that challenging? It's like, I can't keep my eyes off these meatballs or they're going to get away.
Well, no, I can
But
play.
this dry Frasier humor is also
I
captivating.
can play some fun games like make a little toupee out of
Oh, that'd be
spaghetti
great.
and then wait for it to line up with
Spaghetti toupee,
Frasier's head.
It'd be totally worth a cleanup.
So
Like 6 Twitter
if,
likes.
if I'm going to buy anything, I am definitely planning on buying one of those way overpriced $3,000 gaming tables. But that's not a short-term purchase. No. That is something that it's like, I am planning on buying that later. I also need to buy a real dining room table.
Or
I
just
guess.
add it to the mortgage, man. I don't know how that works. I'm not a responsible guy.
That starts to be.
I can't justify those tables. Like, I've seriously considered, like, I'm super into board game stuff as well as D&D, and I have the space, and I cannot pull the trigger on it.
It's okay. I'll do it for you.
So much money for what it is.
Here's the thing, though, Kevin. First person to buy it guarantees D&D night at their house every night. So I'm just really marking my territory. Like, guys, do you think you could come over? I can't move my $3,000 table, Kevin, and I'm not going to put my cup on the battle mat.
So that's our personal news to
yeah.
fill out this bad multi-class.
I also more things that I want to do to a D&D area. Lights is, I think, going to be something really cool that could potentially be really simple. They have a lot of simple LEDs that you can hang up, and I just like the idea of being able to press a button and it's like, I don't know, I haven't thought this one fully out yet, but like, yeah, it's red and now we're in battle and, roll initiative, or we're in the Underdark, so I'm going to make it purple lights, and little things like that I think could be cool, but I also worry that it's going to fall by the wayside after a week.
Oh, yeah. It takes us like an hour and a half to get the music on. It's like, shit, we forgot the music. And that's like a Chromecast on your phone, hit one button thing. And we still fuck it up.
It's the lights, though, would be even easier if you set it up right. Like, just like strips of LED lights.
Yeah.
Like, they're cheap now.
I know.
And when it just has like a little like thing on it, where you press a button and changes the color.
But does it add enough? Does it feel like that's like...
I don't know. It's just like if you
cool?
get one of those nice tables, you always have lips on them, so just put it all along.
Oh, so it lights up the battlefield?
I would say, or
under
just,
the table.
Yeah,
too.
under the table.
Oh,
so it would just shine out. And
I mean, you
that'd be pretty
remember
cool.
what I had on my TV stand?
Yeah, you had LED lights on
I
the
had
back.
LED all on the back. I had it under my desk, and it was always cyan and pink, just because vaporwave.
Yeah. So then after that, the next thing that I'd like is, instead of trying to do all of our music through somebody who's really slow to find new stuff, is curate some playlists from the tons of resources people have, and then set it up so that I've got like a Google Play Mini or something, and I can be like, okay, Google, play battle music, and then it just plays the playlist. That would be kind of nice.
You set it up on my tablet. Machine learning, stop.
I set it off on my watch too. But
having all mine locked.
So that's definitely the downside. I'll have to get an Alexa because we all have Google stuff. But I hate those things because they're always listening to you, and I don't want them to push D&D stuff towards me on ads even further.
Do you actually not want that? That seems like a thing you'd want to see as you traverse the internet.
Oh.
It's like, oh, look, cool shit I don't need.
Oh, yeah.
On every website.
So, yeah, those are the two big things. I guess 3. Table, lights, sound. What else do we need? Oh, miniature storage. That's going to be
Yeah.
a big thing. I've got a mock-up right over there because Kyle and I are planning on making like a giant drawer of miniatures because there's 0 good miniature storage right now. Yeah, that's awful.
The weebs who have like all the tiny figurines just buy those huge glass cases.
I don't want to buy a glass case. That's really not good.
Yeah,
for
it's not for
categorizing
like
them.
getting into the case. It's
No.
mainly for just like, oh, look at all the Japanese anime figurines I own that I will
Right.
never touch again.
Well, they'll touch them.
Oh yeah. Oh no. We have such a healthier hobby though.
Yeah. Look, man, I've never done weird stuff with my Froghemoth Mini.
Which is an incredible mini. I very much encourage you buy it.
It's like $10 on eBay. It's not important. Beyond that, just filling out the walls with more maps. We've got our one Faerun map. I've got my Waterdeep map over there. Maybe an entire wall of whiteboard that we never use anymore. Yeah, I got big plans. All right, I think that's enough personal stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to bore you.
I'm excited.
Good.
This week's monster is the Sibriex, a terrible demon that seems to exist to just absorb as much knowledge as it can and transform people into other demons. There's really a lot to... I'm not going to draw this intro out because there's just a lot to talk about here. I want to kind of dive right into it. But yeah, these things are terrible. They're nasty. They're scary. And they really kind of prey on some primal fears, I feel. Really could kind of build an entire campaign around them if needed. So what are you guys' thoughts? The Sibriex.
First thought is this thing is horrifying. Its picture, and again, it's in Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, is just like a hunk of flesh and fur and faces and chains and blood.
Drippiness.
It's everything that a demon should be. And that it's just a horrifying construct of disgustingness.
Yeah, there's some semblance of a face, and it's twisted and evil and terrible.
Right, but I don't even feel like it was on purpose. I feel like it like accidentally got a face.
All right, is everybody ready to have a little bit of learning?
Yeah.
All right.
Rivulet, a very small stream. In the description, rivulets of blood and bile cascade from the Sibriex's body.
Ew.
Ew.
Yeah.
And the picture makes that very clear.
And when the noxious fluids hit the ground, the landscape becomes polluted. They just kind of kill whatever they hover over.
This seems like a bad guy from Captain Planet.
Which it's polluting the area is actually reflected in its stat block. It has contamination, which not a lot of things have contamination, but it's a rather cool passive ability where it emits an aura of corruption 30 feet out in every direction. Plants that aren't creatures wither in the area, and the ground is difficult terrain for other creatures. Any creature that starts its turn in the aura must succeed on a DC 20 con saving throw or take 4d6 poison damage. Once you succeed on it, you're immune to this for 24 hours. I would assume it's still difficult terrain though, which just really it's making things difficult to get up in this thing's face.
Yeah.
Right out the gate.
This does not. This is one of the legendary monsters that does not come with a layer. So that contamination is kind of like a layer light feature.
A walking layer.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. And before we really dive into stat blocks, just kind of like the lore and history on them. So they are demons. They do exist to just amass information from across the different planes. The hoard knowledge, which depending on the Sibriex, some will use to help. They'll kind of act as advisors to demon lords and other powerful demons and stuff. Others will hoard the knowledge and try and curry favor for it. And then they also just craft more demons. I'm drawing a blank. Lore-wise, I don't think this is the only way new demons come about, but
No.
it definitely seems like...
No, it seems like they
bad one,
create
yeah.
a specific type of demon.
Yeah.
Which is the Rudderkins, and then as well as Abyssal
the
Wretches.
Yeah.
Which I don't think there's like anything too specific about them. We do have the Rudderkin stat block as well, and a little bit of lore on them. But they're kind of like the minions of this thing. But it really just makes them to spread misfortune as demons do. That's a big thing with demons is they're the definition of chaotic evil. They don't usually act for any particular reason. just to kind of spread their grossness wherever they go.
Chaos. Their entire lot in life is to sow chaos.
Right.
They come from the chaotic plane. I'm drawing a complete blank on
The Abyss?
the abyss.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
The abyssal plane.
Yeah, and they're just trying to make everything like that.
How nice of them.
Yeah. So the stat block, so it's challenge rating 18, 19 armor class, 150 hit points. So that's pretty low actually. 20-foot fly speed as a hover, and that's it. 10 strength, 3 dex. But then that's where it kind of stops sounding crappy. 23 constitution, 25 intelligence, 24 wisdom, 25 charisma.
All the important saves, I'll say.
Yeah, saving throws for instant charisma are 13. Resistance to cold, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical means. Immune to being poisoned. That's true sight out to 120 feet and a passive perception of 23. It speaks all languages and has telepathy up to 120 feet. So, pretty crazy. The contamination, we're just always on ability around it. It has innate spell casting of a spell save DC of 21, which is crazy high, and has at will, charm person, command, dispel magic, and hold monster. At will hold monster. That's scary.
Yeah, and that
3 a day feeble mind.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. 3 times a day feeble mind. Even if your spellcaster succeeds that first one, they're not long for this world.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. Can do it twice more.
Not that they're going to help you, because it's also got its legendary resistances and magic resistance. So there's no real easy way to just end this fight.
Yeah. Legendary resistance, of course, being if it fails on a saving throw, it could just choose to succeed. It could do that 3 times a day. And magic resistance, it just has advantage on any saving throw for spells and other magical effects.
Yeah, I'll say this thing, and we haven't even gotten to like damage it does and things of that nature, but it feels like a challenge rating 18.
Yes.
And that's, going so far to say it only has 150 HP, but it doesn't even feel like it needs it.
Right.
Just the amount of stuff it has to resist spells and just mess up people's days with contamination and its spells. It's just a lot to deal with. We haven't even gotten to its multi-attack yet.
Yeah, it's multi-attack. So it uses its squirt bile and then makes 3 attacks with its chain, bite, or both. The chain and bite aren't anything too impressive. +6 to hit, 15-foot range for the chain. It does 2d12 plus 7 piercing damage. Yeah, that's solid, but level 7. Or challenge rating 18. It's not crazy.
Right.
Bite's similar. +6 to hit, 5-foot reach, 2d8 piercing damage, and 2d8 acid damage. So essentially 4d8.
Right. So
damage.
one of those by themselves, really not too bad.
Yeah.
All 3, so it makes 3 of those.
Yeah, of any combination of chain and bite.
So it can do 3 chain, 3 bite,
Whatever.
2,
Yeah.
or 2 and 1, whatever.
And then in addition to that, we'll always be able to do a squirt bile, which is choose a creature over 120 feet and needs to make a DC 20 dex save. Otherwise, it takes 10d6 acid damage. And that's really starting to get up there.
Yeah. So that's obviously its main source of damage.
Yeah.
The good thing as a PC is that if you succeed that DC 20 dex save, there's no half damage. So you can avoid the bulk of it by just being very dexterous. It's kind of a silver lining, right?
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah. And then it could, the squirt bile, it could do it as a legendary action as well.
Yeah.
For 1
So you're not gonna succeed it forever.
Oof.
No. And it could also cast spells as a legendary action. And then use its warp. And
Warp's where it gets fun.
yes.
Warp's where it gets real fun.
Warp creature. So it's a whole action for it, but again, it could also use it as a legendary action. It's really what sets this thing apart. This is where it forces somebody into becoming a demon.
Not just somebody. 3 creatures.
3, yeah.
It affects 3 in one go.
Yeah, 3 creatures in 120 feet, DC 20 con save. On a success, though, the creature becomes immune to this. So that's, if you one success and it shuts down for that.
Yeah.
On a fail, though, the target is poisoned, which is disadvantage on almost everything, which causes it to also gain 1 level of exhaustion, which sucks and is scary. While poisoned in this way, the target must repeat the saving throw at the start of each of its turn. So now you're trying to collect saves, sort of like death saves or like the contagion spell. If you then get 3 successful saves against the poison, it ends, removing all levels of exhaustion caused. Each failed, though, you get another level of exhaustion. Once the target reaches 6, so if they get 6 fails of a DC 20 Constitution saving throw before they collect 3 saves. Essentially, they die and instantly transform into an abyssal wretch under the Sibriex's control. The transformation of the body can only be undone by a wish spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't want to drop to 0 on this thing.
No,
At least not under the warp creature.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have to die from hitting 6 levels of exhaustion.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. What if you are poison and you die, but you don't hit the 6 levels of exhaustion? Do you instantly turn into this thing? Do you still make the saves while you're doing the death
once
saves?
the target reaches 6 levels of exhaustion, it dies and instantly transforms into a living abyssal wretch.
Well, if you're still alive, as in you've got death saves to
Yeah.
make, you're probably going to have to still make these saves.
Yeah, with
If
bunch
you
of
die
disadvantages.
with it, I mean, that's a dark way to deal with it. Like, I don't want to waste a wish spell. Stab him in the head. Fuck it. We'll deal with it in a minute.
Ugh. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, because then you can resurrect, yeah.
So that's already that. I mean, that's scary. If you don't save a couple of times after that first one, you're effed. You're very effed. But what makes it really fun and what sets it apart on top of the set apart is its variant flesh warping.
Yeah.
So when this warp creature ability happens, you have the ability to roll as a DM. You have the ability to roll on a table that is laid out for you, and something odd happens to the person affected by it. So through this, we get a fun table of a D100 where something just happens. For example, something really simple, like 1 to 5, the color of the target's hair, eye, and skin become blue, red, yellow, or patterned. Oh, that's so fun. That's totally fine. Or the next one, 6 to 10, the target's eyes push out of its head, and at the end are stalks. Your eyes just shoot out on stalks. Okay, that's getting weird. And it gets progressively weirder. The target grows a whip-like tail, which it can now use as a whip. The target swells, tripling its weight. This goes on for a while.
We've got a D100 table full of great, horrifying things that happen. to your
Right.
players.
And all of these things are actually reversible. Once you succeed the flesh warp or the warp creature, these things reverse.
Right.
Which is great for absolutely horrifying your party. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing scarier as a PC than somebody telling you that your arms are now like claw-like things, and you're like, is this ever going to go away? Is this permanent? What's happening
Your
here?
head doubles in size. Well, that's going to be terrible. I spent a lot of money on hats.
95 through 100 is you grow a second head. So think about that hat bill, bud.
Advantage on saving throws against being charmed, frightened, or stunned. That's
Some
a good one. I like
yeah,
that.
no.
I want a whip tail. Fuck off. I wanna
That's the
keep
thing.
it.
Some of them are, kind of good. It's just, creepy as hell to have
Yeah.
happen.
And it'll happen a lot. It's based on that wording. Whenever a creature fails a saving throw
Yep.
against their warp, they're repeating the saving throw over and over and over again.
The very first one, something happens.
Yeah.
The next time you fail, another thing happens where
Yeah,
you,
and
you
it
roll
keeps
on that
happening,
again.
yeah.
I would assume they don't stack. I probably wouldn't let them stack. For example, like your weight triples. I'm not going to let it triple again. That's
Yeah.
just silly. Your eyes can't grow stalks from the stalks. That's just silly. Just roll
Right.
again. It's terrifying that you're thinking about it.
I don't want to think about it.
But yeah, that's what really sets the thing apart. And it says variant, as in it's not entirely necessary.
It's pretty necessary.
Yeah, I'm making it necessary. This thing is
yeah.
supposed to be horrifying.
Yeah, and it adds to it. I just know if you fight these things, you could be transformed into a demon completely.
Yeah, your ears
Yeah.
can turn into wings.
It's also it's kind of unlikely that your party is going to be turned into Rudderkins.
Right.
But you're probably going to be facing Rudderkins as you approach these things. And this is a great way to flavor the Rudderkins. Each one of them, roll 3 times.
Yep.
Pick 3 effects. This is how they turned into a fleshed warped Rudderkin.
Yeah, totally agree. And to go more into that, we kind of said this earlier, but the Sibriex is usually creating these Rudderkin, and they're kind of just these gross humanoid flesh mistakes that do something else with their bite where if somebody dies, they immediately turn into an abyssal wretch as well. They don't get all these weird things added on. But as Will was just saying there, you can put that flesh warping variant on it to make your Rudderkins very interesting in what you're fighting. So maybe one of these Rudderkins has a whip tail. So now it's got reach, basically. Another one has a fly speed. It gives you a bunch of options. I mean, it's really all over the place. One of them can have dark vision. Another one can have 2 heads. All of these things that there's no reason not to add them to the Rudderkin. And those things aren't easy by any means. Well, I guess in comparison to a challenge rating 18, they're pretty easy. But they're challenge rating 2, and they're expected to be in groups. Especially their crippling fear is one of their abilities. When a creature that isn't a demon starts its turn within 30 feet of 3 or more Rudderkins, it must succeed on a DC 11 Wisdom save. It has disadvantage on the save if there are 6 or more Rudderkins. So that goes in to explain what the crippling fear does a little bit more. But the point is, they're saying you should be fighting these things in hordes. And maybe you're fighting them on the way to this Sibriex. It keeps getting harder to say every time.
Right.
But I mean, they're terrifying in their own right. When you get bitten by them, there's the chance that if you die, you're just instantly transformed. So you can't go to 0 at all. I guess that just
There's
says
also
if you die.
their fear also makes them restrained.
Yeah. So you
And
can't
if you
move.
got 6 of them, now with advantage on all their bite attacks, you might be ready to fight a level CR 18 creature, but 6 times advantage bite attacks is kind of bad.
Yeah, and it's a lot of damage too.
It transforming you, the Rudderkin transforming you, it's if you hit 0, not if you die. If you hit 0 hit points, you immediately die and are transformed.
You are correct. Thank you.
If you're under that disease.
Yeah, so you can't hit 0,
Yeah.
which is like, as I don't think we mentioned in this episode, but another time was if you hit 0, a lot of times it's fairly easy to bounce back if there's nothing preventing you, and you kind of just use it to yo-yo for a bit. But there's a lot of stuff in D&D that prevents that mentality. As a DM, it can almost feel unfair to just throw something at you and say, hey, not even telling them beforehand, just you drop to 0 and you're now an abyssal wretch and you're just dead. You're done. There's no coming back from this.
Yeah, we can't just resurrect your corpse. It has to be a wish spell.
Right. But there's times where that's fitting. And if this is one of those times when you're going to fight a challenge rating 18 thing, I can't think of any other time there is for that. My thought is always, if you're a campaign where you're kind of worried about that, your parties are going to freak out because they don't like the idea of it, let them do some research beforehand, have a wise mentor who's seen this terrible thing happen before, so that way they know that there is no coming back once you hit 0.
So, and that also brings up when, why, and where you'll see these things.
Right.
The art makes it very clear that they are
A wild encounter, just random one.
Yeah, they just wander around the place. No, they're literally chained to the floor in this
Right.
particular incarnation. Artistically speaking, that means they're slow. They're not going to move very far.
No.
You're probably going to be coming to them. Maybe on good terms, maybe on bad terms. I mean, there's no reason you could not interact with this in a quid pro quo kind of way.
No, it's true, because it does say that it hoards knowledge and usually uses it for its advantage, its advantage. So maybe this is a time when you need information and you're doing this thing a favor.
I wouldn't want to work with this thing.
I wouldn't either.
And I don't think your party will either, especially when they see it. But that might be the campaign hook. You might have to get along with this thing that is literally oozing blood on you.
Right.
But yeah, as far as fighting it, it's going to be a deliberate thing. I think your party's going to know what's going into it. One thing to note is it's a theoretically very cheesable encounter if you're not careful.
Okay, how?
It's slower than hell, and it can't do anything past 150 feet. And the only thing it can do past 150 feet is Feeble Mind. If you've got a bow, for instance, this fight's ruined.
I guess. I
So
feel
you
like,
got to make sure that you have like a winding labyrinthine tunnel to ensure that you can't get an open shot on this from outside his own range.
okay, that's
That's
fair.
just like one DM piece of advice. This thing should be in a semi-small cavern, and there should not be a straight shot, because I could cheese this thing with a longbow from
600
level
feet.
7 as a fighter, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the acid splash against the Tarrasque thing, you know?
I think that's where Rudderkins really come in, though.
Yeah.
Is being like having these minions to force you deeper and deeper into the cave as they continue to push you back. You know, you can send any amount you really want to mess up their day.
But yeah, I think a winding tunnel into a semi-small room makes this encounter. That's like required for this encounter.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll give you that.
Because yeah, we were talking about it. It's got what 150 health. You said it doesn't really need that. It does need that if it can't do stuff to people. So get your party right up into them, and you can do a lot of fun damage. And Feeble Mind is hilarious and will just ruin your casters. If you've got casters you're upset with, Feeble Mind is always worth it.
I feel bad. Does Greater Restoration bring them back?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
I think so. Yeah.
You know, all those
That's
characters who have Greater Restoration. Oh, feeble-minded them too.
Whoops.
Sorry, bud. There goes your paladin. Oh, your cleric's coming. Don't worry. Heal up. Be feeble-minded too.
Yeah, Greater Restoration, Healer Wish. And also after 30 days, you could repeat the saving throw.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll just post up in a motel down here in the abyss.
So the another thing with the variant flesh warping is it's saying that a creature could willingly submit to it, and it takes an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then it does its flesh warping on it, and whatever effect it has becomes permanent.
Right.
Or you could also choose one if you want. So big thing with demons are cultists, and this thing is definitely going to have cultists following
Oh.
it. So you have its layer filled with these humanoid cultists,
Right, which
that
gives you-
have willingly given in to this flesh warping.
Yeah.
That's gonna be kind of gross and fucked up.
Yeah, and it just has so many cool things that you can do for it that just, I mean, it's an entire table of interesting variants to its cultists, to its Rudderkins, to the Abyssal Wretches. You know, if this is something that you see early on in a campaign and realize that it's way too strong, then you can throw these, like a couple of the Rudderkins and the Abyssal Wretches at a party. Abyssal Wretches are like the things that usually come from the dead corpses. Very easy. They're 1/4 challenge rating, AC of 11, HP of 18.
They hit hard though. You guys fought some of those early on and out of the abyss.
1d8 plus 1.
1d8 plus 1. It's not that much.
As far as minimal challenge ratings, this is not one of them. There's plenty of things in these realms that are like less than 10 hit points, 1d4 minus 1 kind of things. These guys actually could be really annoying.
Okay, that's
if
fair.
you've got 10 of them.
Fair enough. And I think because of that, you know, it lets you kind of throw these things in varying amounts depending on what level your party's at. I could see a group of level 3s having a really hard time with a couple Abyssal Wretches and a Rudderkin, or a cultist and a couple of Rudderkin. So you've got your cultist spellcaster who's got these weird variants on them, with Rudderkins who have these weird variants on them, and maybe you don't ever really show your party the Sibriex unless it's in creepy ways.
Guys,
What's up?
Kevin, you mentioned that you can submit to this flesh warping.
Mm-hmm.
41 through 45. We are going to be kind of going in the same region that Sibriex might be. I could use plus 1 AC.
Oh my
What's
god.
I don't have it up.
Yeah, it's the target skin becomes scabby, granting it a +1 bonus to AC, but reducing the charisma by 2.
Yeah, I don't really care about my charisma. I'm a cleric, but 23 AC, I don't know. That's pretty hard to pass up. I like that. These are
yeah.
good rewards for your party.
Oh yeah.
Totally not screwed up at all.
Right. By the way, you guys fought mains, not Abyssal Wretches. I got it mixed up.
Oh, those
Mains.
guys.
Yeah.
I don't know them.
There's a lot of like bottom of the barrel demons and devils that are just like gross lumps. It's like they just come from wherever and they're
Varying
just-
levels of lumps.
Yeah, it's a great it's a great way to visualize what happens if you're like a really shitty person and die. It's like, oh, you get to be that lump for like 200 years.
That's so much better than modern day religion.
Right? I want to be a
Lemure,
demon or a
yeah.
devil. Lemures. Oh yeah, you're just
We talked about them
Yeah.
a couple episodes
But
ago.
it's like, oh, if you're an
You're
evil
a melted,
person,
gross gum
you have
person.
to join the legions of the devil army forever. And it's like, you can't prove that. And it's like, no, I super can.
we
I can
just
super
went
prove
there,
that.
man. I don't believe it. Yeah, I like these guys. These are fun.
For sure. And again, I think you've got challenges at a lot of different levels with the lore that it offers The actual thing itself is gonna be a tough fight. A very, very tough fight that I almost worry you could cheese as a DM a little too easily. Feeble-minding everybody, using that spray bile. Because, again, casting a spell for it is a legendary action. It can get all 3 Feeble Minds off in 3 PC turns.
But remember,
Yeah.
Feeble Mind only affects casters in combat.
To an extent.
no.
I'm sorry. You're right. Because Feeble Mind...
You become dumb, but you do. I mean, if you're a barbarian, if you're a fighter, if you don't have any
Rogue.
spells, it doesn't matter.
But like a paladin,
Paladin,
that's their...
smites aren't spells.
Smites aren't spells. Okay.
Paladins are fine. So
But
yeah.
they're the ones with greater restoration.
Well, or the cleric. Who's
Or the cleric.
now feeble-minded. So yeah, there's a lot of fun to have.
Sorry, I've got an all druid party. So, yeah, you lose. I like that it has just flavor-wise, Arcana plus 13, History plus 13. Lets you know that it's a lot smarter than everybody around.
Right.
This is one of the few chaotic evil things that you can probably work with.
Like actually can have goals.
Yeah,
Right.
This thing is not dumb. This thing will not just immediately blindly attack the party. They can offer it something. They can bribe it for forbidden knowledge, but it's still grosser than hell. It's kind of like witches, actually. Hags.
Yeah. Hags, yeah. Don't call them witches.
Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, this is like an ultra hag. It's grosser than they could ever possibly be, and with similar motivations.
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
That's what I got.
All right. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Next week on Monsters Multiclass.
Join us next week as we discuss the Barbarian Bard and the Hobgoblins from a lot of things. They got a chapter at some point, too. So, I don't know. I didn't look it up. Nobody's listening.